I'm not seeing my future. Everything is just stagnant at the moment. I don't know if I'm going or if I'm staying. That deep sadness filled me on the ride back home. Why are you crying? This is not you. And me going back in and out of the toilet, my eyes red. I don't know what's going on. I just can't. I started asking a couple of questions, and one of the questions that came out, are you suicidal? To be honest with you, it has crossed my mind.
I am so excited to launch our very first You Have Purpose podcast, and it's very significant that we are doing this today because it is June Mental Health Month, specifically focusing on men's mental health. And the reason why we are doing this is because there are so many individuals who are silently struggling, and the stories need to be shared because silently struggling is no longer an option. So for that, I want to introduce Malibongwe, who is our first guest. I'm going to hand over to him to introduce himself.
Wow, first guest. I didn't expect that. I just got that like 5 minutes ago. My name is Malibongwe Makalela. I've been asked to share my story here today. So it's going to be great chatting to you, Eli.
Yeah,
so what do you want to know?
So Mali, I want to know, who are you? Away from the titles of what you do professionally, personally, who is Malibongwe?
Still trying to discover that myself, to be honest. Malibongwe. I grew up in the Eastern Cape. Born in the Eastern Cape, actually, in a small town of King Williamstown. But I've been moving back and forth between the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. But I've been in the Western Cape mostly. Raised in Paarl, small town in Paarl. It's no longer small now; it's a big town. Myself. What can I say? I'm a joyous person. That can look joyous on the outside, but so I'm also a struggling person.
Okay.
I've been struggling for a number of years, to be honest, but I only started to realize that I am actually struggling a couple of years ago. And that's part of the reason why you called me out here today, is to share my story.
Yeah.
So,
And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for willingly being here to share your story, because when we speak about mental health and stigma, it's not having these conversations that creates that stigma. So I really want to honor you for being brave. Have you shared your story before on a platform like this?
No, actually, let me surprise you by saying I've known you for a couple of years now, and the first time I actually shared my story was when I went to that award ceremony we attended. That was the first time I actually felt like standing up and saying something. So big ups to you for that and that opportunity for me to actually share my story. And it's such a relief having to talk about this, because I've hidden it most of the time in my life. Besides having shared it on such a broad, it's not really, it was the audience was small, but having to share it to more than one person was quite big for me. But I have shared it with close friends of mine.
Okay.
I've spoken to them. And it's not something that we often speak about. So once we've spoken about it, then that's it. I think I probably have one friend that still calls me and asks me, listen, are you okay? That just checks in, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
It's weird for me, but it's also in a way quite nice having to know that there is people out there that really care.
Yeah. You mentioned something really profound and that you haven't shared it before, and I'm promising myself not to get emotional here because this is all about you. When did you discover that you were actually struggling, and what does struggling look like for you?
Struggles. I've got such a lot of struggles, to be honest with you, and it's not struggles that are stagnant, it's things that I'm working on. And it took a while for me to discover what it is that I'm really struggling with. I haven't come to terms with a lot of them, but what I can say is, in my life, in my earlier days, I think I've blocked a lot of bad things that have happened to me. I've blocked them out, and a couple of years ago, all of those memories just kind of started flooding down, and I found myself breaking down in open spaces, which was weird. But also, being able to break out in open spaces, that's where you can't control it. And I've always been that sort of person and wants to have control.
Yeah.
And having to lose that control was quite scary for me, because some of the issues that I had were issues that I would just wrap myself in a blanket and start bawling. But also telling myself that, why are you crying? This is not you. Why? But you can't stop those tears from wheeling down your face. And the first time I actually broke down was at work. To be honest with you, I can't remember what happened, but I just remember being at work and it was so silent. I remember my colleague next to me, and there's another colleague on that side, but she started hearing sniffing and me going back in and out of the toilet, my eyes red, and she was thinking, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I actually don't know, but I'm just so emotional at the moment. And I can't, I can't control these emotions. But this went on for that month. Like, I remember being sent home, and then I was up for a promotion at work. Very excited. This was a change for me. This was really a career change for me. So it was like a shining light. I've got this job, and they've got a career plan mapped out for me, and there's a couple of things that I needed to do in order to get to a couple of courses that I needed to study. So I was quite motivated to do that, and I did all of it. And then it came to the time where I was supposed to get the promotion. I remember being called into the office by my boss, and he kind of talked me down of not giving me the promotion, but rather giving me a raise. And I accepted, but I wasn't happy. Actually very angry at the moment because I never voiced it. So that happened on a weekend, and that was a weekend I was going out to the West Coast with a couple of friends. So I went with a couple of friends, we partied, we had a hell of a jaw in this house in St. Helena Bay. And I remember coming home, and that deep sadness just filled me on the ride back home, and that 3-hour ride home. I remember getting home, getting into my room, and the thought that I need to go back to work tomorrow. Ellie, I promise you, that evening, I spent that whole entire evening crying, couldn't stop my ears right through to the next morning. And that's when I realized, no, this is not on. This has happened at work, and it's becoming a problem. You need to see someone. You need to do something about it.
But still not understanding where that emotion is coming from, but just outbursts.
Yes. And for me, it was like a simple thing of work, my promotion. No, man, you can't be crying over not getting a promotion. That's not you. So it was, but it wasn't just work. It was a lot of things. So I remember calling on my mentor, Dr. Cabanyana. I said to her, because I couldn't speak to my own mother, so I called her and I said, listen, something is not right. I don't feel okay. I've spent the night crying, and that's not me. That's not the sort of person that I am. Just like I'm there, I'll be there.
Shout out to the mentor. Thank you for just dropping everything and being there.
Yeah, she passed away a month ago. Yeah, it's very sad. So she came in like 10 minutes. She dropped by at my house. I got into the car and she took me to a day hospital. They ran a couple of tests and they started asking a couple of questions. I said, I don't know what's going on. I just can't stop crying. I just can't stop these emotions. And then from there onwards, I said, okay, no, we can't actually deal with this. So they recommended me to the hospital, Paarl Hospital. So went to Paarl Hospital, and surprisingly enough, I didn't even have to wait in the waiting room. That's how seriously they took this, and they took me straight into the emergency room. From there onwards, the doctor took a couple of vitals. They started asking a couple of questions, and one of the questions that came up was, are you suicidal? And I said, I can't say that I'm not, because I'm not seeing the light. I'm not seeing my future. Everything is just stagnant at the moment. I don't know if I'm going or if I'm staying. So to be honest with you, it has crossed my mind.
Sure.
And from there onwards, they took me to the psych ward.
Okay.
So I was committed for 3 days. And in the 3 days that I was committed, it was hell for me, being confined. Those rooms that they put you in, it's almost like you're a danger to yourself. You've got this plastic bed, you've got the sponge, you don't have a toothbrush, literally the shower has no door, virtually no privacy at all, and which is understandable, because they're housing a lot of people with deep-seated mental health issues, and they were not aware of the extent of my mental health issues. I remember standing when I was being, they were busy committing me into the hospital. I remember standing at the reception area, and I was still crying. I just couldn't stop crying. And then the next day, I was able to see a psychiatrist. I remember this woman very well, Dr. Samai. And I remember the one thing that she said to me, because I was looking at all the patients that were in the courtyard, and I was seeing people suffering from schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, people whose minds have been eroded by drugs and stuff, and it was quite scary for me being in that space. And I think it kind of broke me as well. And I said to her, I feel so ashamed being here. I said to her, I don't know, I feel like I'm wasting your time being here, because I don't think I'm as bad as these people that are here. And I remember her telling me, listen, no two issues are the same. They're different.
Yeah.
Your hell is not the same as their hell, so don't ever think that. And that stuck with me. That gave me hope. So I spent... I remember even the meals that they were offering. It's just thinking about it, it still hurts a bit, having been there. I'm not going to say the treatment, but the way things run, the way you had to be structured in that place, the way your freedom was taken away from you, because at the sense that your mind is no longer your own, so they took ownership of it, down to the meals. I couldn't eat, and the nurses would come to me and they would like, if you want to get out of here, you need to start eating. There's cameras everywhere. They're watching you. They're monitoring you. And if you are reserved and you're not eating and then you're not participating, then you're going to stay here longer. And then I started participating because I just couldn't wait to get out of there. And then finally, after the 3 days, my sister came to pick me up. I broke down again because I was so happy and relieved to be out of there. They started me on antidepressants, 40 milligrams of it. And then from the 40 milligrams in that first month, they took me down to 20 milligrams of citalopram. And I took the medication for about a year, and I took myself off the medication. I don't know if it was a good idea to go off the medication, but decided to. I felt like I was doing okay.
Yeah.
I still feel like I challenged myself in something that I never thought that I would do. So it was such a relief to say, actually, do you know what I found out? And it's quite unfortunate in our community that we don't actually talk about these things. I found out my sisters were depressed.
Sure.
I've always suspected my sister after she lost a baby that I just thought it was what you call,
Grief.
yeah,
Mm.
she was committed as well. But it was never something we spoke about. I've
Yeah.
never had a conversation with her with regards to it.
Yeah.
I just kept my distance and let her heal
Yeah.
her way. And that's sort of, it's common
Yeah.
in the black community. If you're suffering, they leave you at peace. I don't know if it's a sense if it's a sense of protecting ourselves and not being in those uncomfortable situations, or if it's allowing that person to experience what they're experiencing
Yeah.
at that moment. So yeah, I never spoke to my sister, but I noticed we were taking the same medication. And then, funny enough, about a year later, my younger sister, I needed to get something out of her bag, and she said, "Okay, you can get it out of my handbag." As I was rummaging through her handbag, I saw the same pills. She was also, and she never spoke about it.
Sure.
So I've discovered, it is not being said,
Yeah.
that looking at my older brother as well and what he's going through, he doesn't talk about it. But I also feel like he is going through something and he's not talking about it. He's just older, so he's more, I would say, more stubborn. He numbs his pain through alcohol.
Okay.
Without having to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the guilt eats at me for not, because I feel like that's going to be my next step, is being open and talking about these things, especially in my family.
Yeah.
I've already taken that role on as almost like the head of the family in terms of my siblings. I've got older brothers, but they have their struggles to the point that I can't see them leading anything.
Okay.
So I need to initiate it. So that is definitely my next goal, because there's a troubling, there's trouble in our family. There's we are struggling with mental health, but we're still not talking about it. And this is probably the first step, because here I am and I'm talking about it, and I'm willing to share this with a lot of people to raise awareness about this. And earlier I spoke about memories that sometimes they just flood through my mind, especially when I'm in spaces where I'm alone and I start to think a lot. A lot of things come up about my childhood. So I was raised, I was raised in the 80s, and our parents in the in the Eastern Cape, it was a known thing even through the apartheid years. It was, your parents would basically go out and look for work in the cities, whether it be Joburg or Cape Town. My mother chose. Okay, my mother was in Joburg. From Joburg, she had a son. Raised it with the dad, and then when they broke up, she sent him back to the Eastern Cape to be raised by my grandmother. And then she moved to Cape Town, and then she had me, and then I was moved to the Eastern Cape to live with my grandmother while she was working there. So that abandonment is also there. And then later, to a point that my mother got married to someone else, and then I had a stepfather, and she needed to solidify that family of hers back in Paarl while I was living in the Eastern Cape. And then eventually I was placed back into the care of my mother in Paarl. My mother was a newlywed. There were troubles. Well, I've been told that I was a troublesome child at that moment. So I didn't get along with my stepdad to the point that she needed to protect her marriage. So then I was moved back to the Eastern Cape. Now in the Eastern Cape, then my grandmother died. So then I couldn't stay with her anymore. Then I had to go and live with an aunt in East London. So being raised by aunts, I was raised by two aunts. and one of my aunt had her own kids living there as well. So my other cousin's mother was also in the Eastern Cape. So this one aunt was basically housing all of us.
Sure.
And sometimes as a kid, I would have blamed her mistreatment. But at my age now, I kind of also understand that she had to take on someone else's burden. And a lot of things that she mentioned that was financial things about what she had to contribute. And what stuck in my mind a lot is my mother wasn't contributing, and that stuck. As a child, at that moment, it hurt, but you block all of this. And I promise you, I blocked all of this for like 20 years until the memories just started coming back up again, where I could remember those arguments or shots from my aunt of saying, you will eat what you will eat because your mother didn't contribute this month. So all of these altercations, they all started popping up again. I remember also a story where we were living in Umtata. My aunt had a boyfriend. That was probably my first brush with violence. And this is also a memory that popped up. I was probably like 6, where my aunt had an argument with a boyfriend. And this argument escalated to the point that she had to lock him out of the house.
Sure.
And he was banging on the door, and she was screaming, and I was hiding under the bed, scared. I just remember how scared I was. I felt like I was going to die at the violence this guy was portraying. Eventually broke down the door. I also remember neighbors coming in to a rescue. And the following day, I was moved to another aunt. No, I wasn't moved to another aunt. I was moved to my grandmother. My grandmother was alive at that time. So I was moved back to my grandmother in King Williamstown. So, yeah, those type of memories. And in a sense, you might think they have not shaped my life, but they have. And things could have been different, but I also believe that whatever journey I'm on is driven by God.
Yeah.
So whether I had to go through all of that, it was His will, basically. So, and a question has been asked before. Do you regret anything in your life? And I say no. It's made me the person who I am.
Yes.
And I get a lot of love from people.
Yeah.
So much to my surprise. I woke up this morning. I don't know if I told you, I'm representing Cape Islands at the 8 Ball National Tournament in Potchefstroom next week. So I started this Back a Buddy account.
Yes.
I'm also the sort of person that doesn't like hand-me-outs. I don't like to ask people. I'm very... it's also part of how I was raised. I had nothing.
Okay.
And I started working at a very early age.
Okay.
And that kind of made me the person that I am. I don't like handouts. I don't like to ask people for things. But I'm also a very giving person. And for me to start a Back a Buddy account is not anything that I would imagine. But actually, it's not me that started the idea. It's a colleague of mine who said, no, I'm going to start it. And she created this account. And I said, okay, I'll spread it. And I spread it very far. So in the first month, I got like $2,500 from people, but mostly colleagues.
Yeah.
And then this morning I woke up, but there was another 2,000 in my Back a Buddy account. And I just looked at the people. I was like, I didn't expect this. If you guys ever get to watch this, I don't mean it in a bad way, but it was such a surprise to see.
Yes.
And the amounts that people were donating.
Yes.
I'm like, people I haven't spoken to in 2 years, but they're still in my memory. And I've got a lot of love for them. And I know that they love me too. So yeah, it was quite nice to wake up this morning. And I thought if I come here, I'll definitely share that as well.
Yes, and it's only because of the person that you've become and they've come to love. But without them telling you on a daily basis, Marley, this is who you are, we appreciate you. Waking up to those,
Yeah.
that amount actually sends a message to say, someone believes in me. Even though they don't tell me, we don't speak as often, somebody believes in me. So
Sure.
why not believe in
is-
myself?
That is so great. I was telling you, I sent a post the other day. Do you know we spend a lot of time at work?
Yeah.
Most of the times we spend at work. So um, colleagues become family. They become your friends. They become your whole day, basically. 5 days a week you're with these people.
Yes.
Um, and it should be a happy place. It shouldn't be a sad place. So I was saying in my group, I said it's such a blessing having to wake up and say that I'm going to work.
Yeah.
Being excited about going to work, and that's who I am. I wake up at 5 o'clock. I start at 8, but at 6:20 I'm already at work.
Because you want to be there.
Because I want
There's
to
a
be
sense
there.
of belonging.
So there's no drag.
Yeah.
I remember last year I was in a different department. I used to have such a lot of late comings, and I would have conversations with my boss, and she would be like, "Why?" And I was like, "No, it's the struggle waking up, it's public transportation, and all." I would have all of these silly excuses, but the actual problem is I was depressed.
And the environment, right?
I was depressed at the environment. I
Yes.
didn't want to be there. I would have preferred working from home if that option was given to me. But now, yeah, there's light.
Yeah.
I'm happy in my workplace. I'm happy in my personal life. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm really happy. Not to say they aren't challenging
Yes.
moments. There are a lot of them, but I've come to deal with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one thing that I want to touch on. I started this organization because I lost my friend to suicide. And when I speak about her, I always describe her as this happy individual who struggles silently. And struggling silently because I never knew about what she was going through. She never showed any sort of sad emotions, withdrawal emotions, emotions that we would now associate with, oh, there's something wrong with you, right? And that's how you describe yourself in the beginning of this conversation. You're a joyous person. And I started this organization because of the individuals who are silently struggling, that like she did. And I make it my mission, for you have purpose, to get to those who are joyous, but at night are crying that pillow wet because nobody understands their struggle. They haven't spoken about it, but they're dealing with it on their own. What can we now do differently to our community or our circle of friends if we do get a Marley and a Carmony in our circle that are consistently happy and spreading the joy, but they are struggling silently? How do we now equip ourselves to make sure we support them? What is something you wish someone would have extended to you, reached out to you, said to you in those moments where you were really happy?
Well, it starts with you as a person, but it's not just with you, because you might not be able to manage it.
Yeah.
So talking helps. Marley might not be a talker. He might just be dying silently. But you need to speak to that person. A lot of the times we see Marley is happy, and you're thinking, no, he's fine.
Yes.
No, those are the people that you need to speak
Yes.
to. Those are actually the people that you need to speak to and ask them, are you really happy? Because saying, oh, I see that you're happy is not enough.
Yeah.
Ask that person, why are you so happy? I think that's a very profound question to ask. Why are you so happy? What makes you happy?
Okay.
Do you ever have any sad moments? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about? Just between the two of us.
Yeah.
I have these conversations with my boss, and at first it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I've come to love those sessions with her, where she just taps me on the shoulder. When she sees that I'm not doing well, she taps me on my shoulder and she's like, let's go to the boardroom and have a chat.
Nice.
I'm like, woman, I'm busy. I've got a lot of work. I can't chat now. It's like, no, the work will still be there.
Yeah.
Let's go to the boardroom and chat.
Creating that space.
And she would sit in silence, like she's a psychiatrist or something. Just like, talk. Say something. Like, what do you want me to say?
She'll bring it out of you.
Talk. I know you. This is not you. Something's up.
Man.
And then eventually I just open up and I talk. Force it out of that person.
Yeah.
They will eventually open up because they want to talk. They just don't know how to talk.
Yes.
So opening up. And another thing that I liked that you started was, or that you've been mentioning a lot, and you've got a lot of ads out on it. Be kind. You don't know what that person's going through.
Absolutely.
Kindness could do a world of good.
Yes.
You don't know the struggle that the person's going through at that moment. So just be kind, because you being unkind might just put that person over the edge.
Hundreds.
So, I'm sure no one wants to be responsible for someone being pushed over the edge. So kindness is a winner.
Yeah. And with that being said, Malibongwe, thank you for being our first guest. I was going to ask you, how would you end off this podcast giving hope to someone? And you've said it already. So thank you. I really hope that you are inspired, and just know that you have purpose.